welcome to the virtual nightmare family. It was a dark and stormy night when Amy and her husband, John, arrived at Blackwood House. The old mansion had been in the family for generations, but it had been abandoned for years, and the couple had decided to renovate it and turn it into a bed and breakfast. As they walked through the creaky front door, they were greeted by a musty smell and a chill in the air. Amy shivered, but John assured her that it was just the cold weather and that the house would warm up once they got the heat going. They spent the next few days working tirelessly to clean and restore the old mansion. Despite the initial creepiness of the house, they were both excited about the prospect of turning it into a successful business. However, as the days went on, strange things began to happen. One evening, while they were eating dinner in the dining room, they heard a loud banging coming from upstairs. John went to investigate, but he found nothing out of the ordinary. They shrugged it off and went to bed, but that night, they were both awakened by the sound of footsteps echoing throughout the house. Amy sat up in bed and listened, her heart pounding in her chest. She was sure that she could hear the sound of someone walking up and down the hallway outside their room. John, on the other hand, was fast asleep, oblivious to the commotion. The next morning, Amy decided to explore the house and see if she could find any clues as to what was causing the strange happenings. As she made her way up the creaky stairs, she felt a sudden chill and heard the sound of whispers coming from the darkness. She turned on her flashlight and shone it around, but she saw nothing. Nevertheless, she felt a presence watching her, and she quickened her pace, eager to get out of there. Over the next few days, the strange occurrences continued. Doors would slam shut on their own, objects would move inexplicably, and the sound of footsteps and whispers could be heard throughout the house. Amy and John began to feel like they were not alone in the house. They started to avoid certain rooms and would never go out alone at night. They tried to rationalize the strange happenings, but deep down, they knew that there was something sinister lurking in the shadows. One night, as they were preparing for bed, they heard the sound of scratching coming from the walls. John went to investigate and found nothing, but as he turned to leave, he saw a figure standing at the end of the hallway. It was a woman dressed in a white gown, her hair wild and unkempt. John stared in shock as the woman approached him, her eyes fixed on his. He tried to speak, but his voice caught in his throat. Suddenly, the woman disappeared, and John was left standing alone in the hallway. He stumbled back to their bedroom, trembling with fear. The next day, Amy and John decided that they had had enough. They packed their bags and left Blackwood House, never to return again. They didn't speak of their experience to anyone, fearing that they would be labeled crazy. Years later, after the couple had passed away, the mansion was sold to a new family who planned to turn it into a hotel. However, the new owners were in for a surprise. As soon as they moved in, they began to experience the same strange occurrences that Amy and John had endured. They tried to renovate the house, but no matter what they did, the ghosts of Blackwood House refused to leave. It seemed that the spirits of the past had claimed the old mansion as their own and would never allow anyone to live there in peace. And so, Blackwood House remained empty, a haunting reminder. After the incident at Blackwood House, many rumors and legends have circulated about the property. Some say that the ghost of Abigail Blackwood still haunts the property, while others believe that the strange occurrences were simply the result of an overactive imagination. Whatever the truth may be, the events that occurred at Blackwood House have remained a source of fascination and fear for generations to come. Years later, the property was sold to a new owner who was unaware of its dark past. The new owner, a successful businessman, planned to renovate the house and turn it into a luxurious vacation home. However, as soon as he stepped foot on the property, he felt a sense of unease. Strange things began to happen in the house once again. Doors would open and close on their own, footsteps could be heard in the halls, and the temperature would suddenly drop without explanation. The new owner soon realized that the rumors about the haunting of Blackwood House were true. Desperate to rid the house of its ghosts, the owner consulted with paranormal investigators and even hired a team of exorcists. However, no matter what they tried, the ghostly presence remained. In the end, the owner was forced to abandon his plans for the property and put it up for sale once again. As time passed, Blackwood House became more of a legend than a real place. People whispered about the ghost of Abigail Blackwood and the eerie presence that hung over the property. Despite its reputation, some brave souls attempted to explore the house, but they never returned. However, one day a group of paranormal investigators decided to investigate the house. They had heard the stories of the haunting and were eager to see if they could capture any evidence of the supernatural. As they entered the house, they felt the same sense of unease that others had described. They set up their equipment and began their investigation. For hours, nothing happened, and they were beginning to think that the stories of the haunting were just that, stories. But then, as they were packing up their equipment, they heard a sound coming from upstairs. They cautiously climbed the stairs and entered one of the bedrooms. To their surprise, they saw the ghostly figure of a woman standing in the corner. The investigators tried to communicate with the ghost, but she did not respond. Instead, she simply disappeared into thin air. The investigators were left stunned and terrified by what they had witnessed. News of the investigators' encounter spread quickly, and people began to flock to Blackwood House once again. Some were thrill-seekers looking for a scare, while others were determined to uncover the truth behind the haunting. Over the years, many attempts were made to solve the mystery of Blackwood House, but none were successful. The ghostly presence continued to haunt the property, and it seemed that Abigail Blackwood's spirit would never find peace. Years passed since the discovery of Abigail's diary and the secrets it held. Despite the restoration efforts, the property remained largely untouched, and the rumors of hauntings and supernatural activity persisted. The new owner of the property, a wealthy businessman named Richard, was initially skeptical of the ghost stories. He saw the property as a sound investment, a chance to restore the grandeur of a historic estate and turn it into a luxury hotel. Richard was convinced that he could turn Blackwood House into a premier destination for high-end tourists, and he spared no expense in his efforts to do so. As the restoration work progressed, strange occurrences began to happen on the property. The workers reported hearing strange noises at night, footsteps in the halls, and doors opening and closing by themselves. Some of the workers even claimed to have seen the apparition of a woman in white wandering the halls of the house. At first, Richard dismissed these stories as superstition and folklore. He was too focused on his vision for the property to be deterred by ghost stories. But as the incidents became more frequent and intense, even Richard began to feel a sense of unease. One night, Richard decided to stay in the house alone to oversee the restoration work. He was working late in his office when he heard a sound outside his door. He opened the door, but there was no one there. He shrugged it off and went back to work, but the noises continued. Eventually, he realized that the noises were coming from the room adjacent to his office. Richard opened the door to the room and was immediately struck by a cold breeze. He saw a figure at the far end of the room, illuminated by the moonlight coming through the window. The figure was that of a woman in a white dress, with long dark hair and pale skin. Richard froze in terror as the woman turned to look at him with a haunted expression on her face. Suddenly, the woman vanished, leaving behind a cold and eerie feeling in the room. Richard was shaken to the core by the experience, and he knew that he had to investigate further. He began to research the history of the property and discovered the tragic story of Abigail Blackwood. Richard was horrified by the realization that he had been living and working in a place that had been the site of such a terrible crime. He knew that he had to do something to honor Abigail's memory and put the ghosts of Blackwood House to rest once and for all. Richard hired a team of paranormal investigators to explore the property and try to make contact with Abigail's spirit. The investigators were able to capture images of ghostly apparitions and record strange noises and EVPs in various parts of the house. Finally, after months of investigation, the team of investigators made contact with Abigail's spirit. They were able to communicate with her through a Ouija board and help her find peace by providing closure for her unresolved past. The haunting of Blackwood House finally came to an end, and Richard was able to complete the restoration work and turn the property into a successful luxury hotel. The ghosts of the past were laid to rest, and the property now stands as a testament to the resilience of the human spirit and the power of redemption. If you enjoyed tonight's virtual nightmare, I hope the like and subscribe button haunt you tonight. Also, turn on all notifications to avoid being haunting. If you want to share your own virtual nightmare story, contact me via Instagram or email. Links will be in the description.